We're here at the Web Summit in Lisbon, and I'm joined now by Monsignor Paul Tighe, who works for the Vatican's Culture Division and is specifically interested in the digital environment. So one question I want to ask you is, we're here in the aftermath of the Trump win, and the digital medium really played a significant role in his campaign. And I was just thinking in terms of what he accomplished and the importance of the medium these days, is there a message here for institutions like the Vatican in terms of how important it is to master this medium?
Yeah, I think it's important to master the medium, but one thing I think we would want to do slightly, maybe differently, is one of the we see in social media that there's a potential there to start a global conversation, to bring people to talk together who might normally encounter each other, who might be coming with different views and different ideas. And sometimes in political use of social media, it's more about consolidating your own base, developing your own ghetto, your own sense of identity, which is important. But I think we'd be interested in ensuring that social media realizes its undoubted potential to be also a vehicle of dialogue, where people who start from different positions, start with different ideas, learn to listen to each other. That requires a certain degree of respect for each other. And part of our idea and part of the reason why we want the church and people of believers and to be present in social media is, together with other people of goodwill, to work to ensure that we humanize this environment and it doesn't just become another tool that leads to polarization and division, but becomes something that promotes the good of society by enabling a more general conversation.
Tell us a little bit about how the Vatican approaches all these new technological tools for communications, and a little bit about when this whole phenomenon started at the Vatican.
Yeah, I would say that the thing began in the Vatican not so much in a structured way, but almost in a haphazard way. Particularly some of the younger employees were straight there and were right into digital materials from the beginning. And then gradually there was a realization that certainly in terms of the Vatican's communications work, we had to take account of the development of the digital technologies. That emerged, yes, in the Vatican, but also because the church has a whole global communication structure. And particularly the church in the US was confronting and looking at the changes in media brought about by digital environment from a very early stage. So one of the things that became very clear to us was that while the church had traditionally been very heavily invested in print, in radio, in TV, and began to develop a digital presence, they had to rethink everything we were doing. Then the particular things about the social media platforms was, some time ago, about 3-4 years ago, we were launching a kind of an app or a portal that brought all the Vatican's media material together on one platform. And somebody said, let's get the Pope to tweet to launch it. And that was done. And then afterwards said, wouldn't it be a good idea to have a Twitter account for the Pope? And the people who proposed this brought it to the attention of Pope Benedict. And immediately he said, look, what exactly is this about? But he was offered a large briefing and he said, are you saying this allows me to offer short messages of hope and encouragement to people I would never normally encounter? Yes, go for it. And that was it. So from there, it began as something that we realized, but that became maybe the flagship project, but it led us to thinking much more about how we have to do things differently in a digital space.
And the Vatican's main Twitter account is @Pontifex, and it has over 30 million followers across the different versions of it. What is it really that you're trying to accomplish with that communication platform in terms of who are you speaking to?
I mean, first thing is it's there as a platform of communications that allows the Pope probably to get into the mentality or into the mindset of people who wouldn't normally encounter church teaching or church ideas. And then that's particularly true when the retweeting happens. We're told by Twitter that the Pope has one of the highest retweet levels for a public figure. So it means we're getting a message out there to people we might normally meet. But also it served as a symbolic project to say to people in the church generally, the digital is real, it's here to stay, it's not something for children. And if the church is serious about communication, about being present in the lives of people today, it has to have an appropriate digital presence.
And does the Pope tweet himself? Or?
The Pope doesn't tweet himself, but all messages that are being tweeted are brought to the Pope's attention. He looks at them in either Spanish or Italian, he approves them or changes them or nuances, and then they're translated into the different languages and tweeted. And it's usually a pattern of 2 or 3 times a week.
That's a fascinating insight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.